What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational. And oh boy, it feels like golf season. Definitely. I've got a couple of big notes out of the gate. First off, there are 6 events this week that are covered on RickRunGood.com. So we've got the Arnold Palmer Invitation, the Puerto Rico Open, the Chile Classic. That's a Corn Ferry Tour event. There's a Senior Tour event. There is a European Tour event. There's a Live Golf event. So I've got all that data loaded into the website, and we can talk at length as much as you want during the live chat about each one of those. Speaking of the live chat for this week, this is a little bit of inception because if you're watching on YouTube, you're looking at the YouTube channel while you watch on YouTube. This is very bizarre, but the live chat for this week is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I apologize for kind of moving this all around, still trying to figure out the schedule in a post first cut world. And I'm going to be on the road this week. So 8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, go get your questions, your comments, your concerns in right now. And I'll cover as many of those as possible. My plan is to also include something about each one of those events in my email newsletter for this week, rickrungood.com/newsletter, or the link in the description. I'll have some stuff in there for everything. Finally, before we jump into this is also very important. There are 2 really solid guaranteed events on Splash Sports right now. So our weekly listener league, again, hat tip, golf clap, filled with like many hours to spare. Filled very early. We've gone from 5,000 to 7,500 to 10K to 12K. This is a $15,000 guaranteed week. As of right now, that is less 15% full, something like that. That'll fill very quickly. Also, there is a 3 and done starting at the Players Championship next week, including the Players and the 4 majors. This was really popular last year. You pick 3 golfers every single week. It works as a 1 and done. There are payouts for all 5 events, like the season long, and there are payouts for each one of the major championships. That's $100,000 guaranteed. That's massive in the segment payouts, as mentioned. So really good stuff brewing here. You guys have been put to the test, and you have answered the bell every single time, which I absolutely love. And, you know, all the support in the world from me, and you guys are the best. All right, let's jump into this week. So we are playing Bay Hill. Everything you see from this point, most things, not this satellite imagery, but most things will be from my website, rickrungood.com. Oh, you got to love Bay Hill, right? This is a really unique golf course from a driving perspective. In my mind, by the way, look at that driving range on the left-hand side with all those just beautifully aligned putting greens. I love that. So anyway, it's a really unique golf course from a driving perspective, because if you look at the course key stats, and this is math, this is not my opinion whatsoever. We'll start with driving, actually, because what you're going to see is that there is a very significant missed fairway penalty historically here. Now, I think it's going to be way more of a penalty than we saw at PGA National last week. But historically, there is a huge missed fairway penalty. So you'd think, okay, is there a very big long drive reward? And it's like, not really, but distance matters in a different way. So that's just the math. But when you start looking at the actual course layout here, what you see is a lot of this. You see a lot of narrow fairways. So this fairway here on number 1, we'll just start at number 1 around 300 yards, is 19 yards wide. That is tiny. So you're going to have a lot of guys miss this fairway. The rough is going to be very thick. So you need to be able to extract yourself from the rough, but also if everybody's missing the fairways, you are getting a benefit from having that club head speed. The other thing to note is all of these great dog legs at Bay Hill. There's so many of them. Here's number 3, for example. You can bite off as much of this as you want. Do you want to just play it safe and go 290 down the middle? Sure. If you want to cut a little bit more, that is, well, let's do this measurement from T. That's a 304 carry. If you're Rory McIlroy, are you thinking, hey, maybe I can carry it 320? Is it downwind? Right. So you have an infinite number of lines on a lot of these holes with a lot of these dog legs. So the guys that have the ability to chop off a lot of it are very valuable. And here's number 6, right? Here's the hole that Bryson do we say he drove it? He hit it basically here. It was I mean, it was wild, but he hit it like right there. It would have been like a 330-ish carry. And then depending on which line you take here, again, are you playing it safe 290? Are you cutting off as much as you can? Rory McIlroy kind of lives in this range over here, which is like a 320 carry, depending on wind conditions and everything like that. Very hard to hold the fairway from there. So there's just such a unique strategy off the tee at this golf course that we don't see at a lot of other places, because they also combine it with the big penalty for missing the fairway in the thick penal rough. I mean, you see these dog legs everywhere. It's so cool. Love it. Just really awesome. So anyway, to go back to the actual stats for this week, you'll see that a lot of the highly correlated stats to success have to do with both club head speed, driving distance, and accuracy. So club head speed is number one. There are only 9 other courses in which club head speed is more important than at Bay Hill, or more correlated to success. Then you see 4 or 5 different approach numbers, including strokes gained approach, which is a very, very good stat, and also a variety of approach ranges. 50 to 75 yards, 225 to 250, 250, 275. What does that say? That says long par fours. That says your second and third shots onto par fives, because you're going to want to be able to take advantage of those holes. Here are the par fives. Number 4 plays significantly under par. Number 6, basically even par. And then the other 2. So basically the fives are, there's a little bit here, but are basically your scoring opportunities. So the only holes that are playing under par. That is why you see very long approaches and very short approaches pop up here, because that's what you're getting on par fives, either going for it in 2 or laying up to a number that you can then get up and down from. It also bears that out because the next stat in line is par 5 scoring average. So we are looking for a long hitter who is good on approach, who can take apart the fives and probably avoid bogeys, but we can talk about that in just a bit. Strokes gained approach, 11th, which means there's only 10 other courses in which strokes gained approach is more highly correlated to success. I'll distill all of that down for you, and we'll lay it over to the adjusted fit on the course fit table here. Take all those numbers, looking at the last 36 rounds, and you can do this by any number of rounds that you want on RickRunGood.com. Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, 1 and 2 in terms of the best adjusted fit. Yeah, no surprise. They are going to be able to separate themselves in a big way. You see Justin Thomas is 3rd. Then you see Aldrich Potgieter is 4th. Remember, he has a very small sample size, but he has this just monster driver, monster club head speed, all that fun stuff. Tommy Fleetwood gets there in a little bit of a different way. He gets there via approach and being well-rounded. Maverick McNeely improves based on gets his improved ball striking numbers that give him a boost over his baseline. So we'll run this in the model in just a little bit, but this is a very, very good and in theory challenging golf course. I know we talked a lot about that last week, and it didn't necessarily bear itself out. Here's the cheat sheet at RickRunGood.com, and I will zoom in so that all of you guys can see this a lot better. 3 golfers over $10,000 here: Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, probably the 3 best players in the world. And as usual, Scotty Scheffler is not priced high enough in fantasy, right? Like we just know that. He's $12,000. He should be more expensive than that. He was more expensive at Riviera. He was the same price at Phoenix. This is probably a better spot. It's just the way that DraftKings does the pricing. They never get that guy who is 3.5 to 1 to win the golf tournament. They never get him high enough for fantasy purposes. Let me just tell you a little anecdote. And I know I'm a numbers guy, but I don't need to tell you anything you haven't heard about Scotty Scheffler. He's the best tee to green player in the world. He's won this event twice in the last 3 years. He's never finished outside the top 15, and he's got top 4 finishes in all of his last 3 events. He is the favorite. He should be. You should be jamming him into as many lineups as you possibly can. There is very little reason to think he's going to have any issues this week. Here's the anecdote. Torrey Pines was the first time in years, it seems like, that I have had some type of negative exposure towards Scotty. It was basically, I needed Rory to be better than Scotty that week. That was basically a better outcome for me. And if you follow Scotty Scheffler and you watch every shot that he hits with that mindset of rooting against him, he makes you pay every single time, and you really see how good he is. I mean, he played horribly and finished T3. He is able to get up and down from places you are not supposed to be able to get up and down. He's able to hit shots that nobody else is able to hit. He had the worst round on the golf course on Saturday and finished T3. I mean, it is, when you are rooting against him, when you are trying to beat him in some way, it is painful. It is, trust me, it is painful. Probably won't be making that mistake again anytime soon. Rory McIlroy, as good as Scottie Scheffler's history is here, Rory's the only guy who can match that. He's played here a ton. He won here back in 2018. It is nothing but top tens. As my friend Mark Immelman would say, Rory McIlroy could fall out of bed and finish inside the top 10 at Bay Hill, and he can. The driver is a huge weapon. He has always putted well on these surfaces. If you look at his play coming in, look past the TGL stuff, he did not putt well I keep wanting to call it Riviera, at Torrey Pines for the Genesis Invitational. The rest of his game was very strong. Outside of that, he wins at Pebble Beach. The Dubai Desert Classic is a T4. He wins the DP World Tour Championship. This dude is buzzing. He's playing well, and he's going to maybe one of the best golf courses in the world, maybe East Lake. You know, we can make some arguments here, but literally one of the best golf courses in the world for him. If we look at the course horses chart and we go back to everybody in this field with a minimum of 20 rounds at any golf course, I bet you we get to Rory. Yeah, we do. Rory at Bay Hill is the third best player course combination. So Patrick Cantlay, TPC Summerlin, Scottie Scheffler at Augusta National, Rory McIlroy at Bay Hill. Yeah, that's wild stuff. So that's what we're talking here. The Xander Schauffele thing is interesting. Obviously he's coming back from the rib injury. You know, he gave us the tease. He gave us the tease on Twitter with the swing that looked good. One swing, he's not going to post a bad one. Yeah, I get it. Probably going to take a pass on Xander this week. There's Ludwig Oberg, there's Colin Morikawa, there's Justin Thomas below. The other thing to consider is, even if Xander was coming in very, very healthy, this is a place that it's not been great for him. I want to be very clear. The bar is incredibly high for Xander Schauffele. So him finishing T24, T39, and T25 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational would be great results for 99% of the guys in the world. It's not great for Xander Schauffele. So that's kind of the other issue here, is he's making this return for the first time since the century, and he hasn't played well here in his career. There are other guys who are priced in a way that are more interesting and more appealing. Probably not a need to go to Xander Schauffele in this spot. Now, what I think is interesting with the rest of this board is, you know, the 9K range is still kind of filled with concerns, right? So let me just kind of point out a couple of items here. So Colin Morikawa, the concern around him is not necessarily the statistics coming in, but his record here is not good. A T9 in 2020, he's missed the cut in each of his last two. He has never putted well. In fact, he's lost a ton of strokes putting in his 4 trips to Bay Hill. He's putting better now, but that is certainly a concern. His pathway is not going to be the Rory McIlroy pathway, right? He's going to have to hit a ton of fairways, and it narrows his path to the top just a little bit. Still very bullish on Colin Morikawa. This is a little bit worrisome about the history that he's had here. So that's a concern. Patrick Cantlay, you know, I've been trying to convince him. I'm like, I'm ready to get back in on Patrick Cantlay. He's got a T4 and a T36 here in the last 2 years, but you're seeing a stat profile that is not bulletproof for a golfer who is as expensive as he is at $9,500. You're seeing something each week hold him back, and it's something different, which is always a little bit concerning to me. Again, just a little bit of a concern there. Justin Thomas can't putt, right? JT cannot putt. The history here is, again, good, not great. 49th, 21st, and 12th. I'll throw out the 49th because that was in 2015. I think I'm more bullish on JT than I am probably on Patrick Cantlay and Colin Morikawa. Hideki Matsuyama has not driven it well since the start of the year. And if you look at his record here, it's, again, not very good by lofty standards. So this 9K range is not filled with a lot of really good options. You know, we saw Tommy Fleetwood get the boost in the course fit. So I do want to pull up his stat profile here real quick, and you'll see, you know, Torrey Pines, he finishes T5, where he, over the last 3 rounds, he was probably the best player in the field. He lost strokes in the opening round and was really, really good the rest of the way. Pebble Beach and Dubai, top 20s there. I mean, he's been a top 20 machine for basically 6 months. If you look at his record at Bay Hill, it's all over the place. Hasn't always putted well here. He's got a couple of top 10 finishes, but a couple of really ugly ones. I think I'd rather invest in this, a guy who's giving me well-rounded, great play than maybe like a Hideki. That the Hideki stuff is a little bit concerning. The Cantlay, I could probably get in on. But I guess it just kind of points us all back to Ludwig, right? Like is he just Ludwig might be, I'm not going to say he might be the best player in the world, but he might be the next number one player in the world, right? When Scotty eventually gives this up, who will be waiting in the wings? Ludwig's a pretty good option. Long and the width of these fairways at Bay Hill, similar to the widths of fairways at Torrey Pines, similar penalness, similar hurt from missing the fairway. I'm really interested to see how he plays this, right? I mean, he's got two starts here. They're okay. T24, T25. He finished T25 here last year and was miserable on approach, was pretty miserable from tee to green, struggled around the greens. We have not seen anything like that in quite some time. So I hate to be really the super like chalk monster here, but it's Scotty, it's Rory, it's Ludwig. I think it is then probably, I think JT is interesting. I think Tommy Fleetwood is interesting. And I've got enough concerns about everybody else to move me on to those golfers. I do want to look at Sam Burns here. Sam Burns is interestingly priced. He bridges the gap here. So you've got all those big names in the 9K range. You know, JT, Cantlay, Fleetwood, Finau. The 8K range, there is a difference, right? That's Russell Henley, Mav McNeely, Keegan Bradley. And it's Sam Burns who kind of bridges that gap. So let me pull up his profile real quick and see what he has been up to. It's not particularly good. Wow, this is does Vegas know something, right? Because these salaries are basically run off of what Vegas does. He's lost strokes on approach in 6 of his last 7 and pretty significantly. Putter's still been very good, no problem there. His history here, I mean, he is capable of losing a ton of strokes across the board. Lost 9 strokes on approach here 2 years ago. Has lost around these greens. Really, Sam? Around these greens all but 1 year. So 6 out of 7 years. Tee to green's been miserable. I don't know why he is priced here. Is this line speaking? Am I listening to it? Am I understanding what it's saying to me? I'm not sure. Now the 8K range is very fun to look at. Sung J M is $8,900. If you've been following along, there's a problem here. Okay. Sung J did indeed fix the ball striking numbers at the COG last week, but he still missed the cut. I don't want to beat him up too badly for that, but because he missed the cut on the number and I mean, 1 stroke difference, Joe Highsmith makes the cut on the number, goes on to win the golf tournament. Not saying that is what Sung J M would have done, but I don't want to beat him up too bad for missing the cut on the number. But we've got a really concerning 2025 here. I mean, losing strokes on approach in 4 out of 6, nothing inside the top 30 except for 1 start at T4 at the Farmers. The history here, I mean, he's very, very good in Florida, or at least he started off his career very, very good in Florida. He's never finished worse than 21st here. Is this your X factor of the week, right? Just to put this into more perspective, if you go to the trends tool, here's Sung J M. So this compares the last 24 rounds or any number of rounds that you want to each golfer's baseline. So the way that this reads is Sung J M over the last 24 rounds is losing 3/4 of a stroke per round on approach to himself. That's how far below his own baseline he is. That's not at all, like, don't even look at anybody else in the field. So he's losing nearly a half a stroke per round to himself. So he's a half stroke worse per round. It's a big number, quite honestly. It's a pretty significant number. Contrast that with Daniel Berger, who obviously is working back from a back injury and all that stuff and getting back into form. He's gaining nearly a stroke per round to his 100 round baseline in the last 24. So there are really guys going in vastly different directions here in the 8K range. Wyndham Clark down a half a stroke to himself. Victor Hovland down a half a stroke to himself. Zalatoris and McNeely, Shane Lowry up a half a stroke to themselves. So that's what the 8K range represents to me, is golfers who are going in different directions. And we've got to decide whether or not they are like are they going to continue in that direction, or are they going to be able to snap it off? I'm like oddly interested in Sungjae, to be honest with you. I'm happy to see these numbers. The 2.5 strokes he gained ball striking last week at the Cognizant, first start back in Florida. That's very good. The history here just needed a reset, get to Florida, play a different style of golf. I want to look at Daniel Berger here, because Daniel Berger was amazing on the front nine last week and miserable on the back nine. The weekend was bad. If I would have told you he finished T25 last week and didn't even gain strokes on approach, would we have been excited about that? You look back, you zoom out to the entirety of the 2025 results, and they're still very good. It's a little more difficult to swallow now because he's $8,500 in a field that is much stronger. So just going to pull back a little bit on Daniel Berger, and we'll kind of see what happens. Not like the full fade, but like instead of being 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, it's like a 6.5. Cautiously optimistic. Need to really see what direction he's headed in here. I want to pull up Russell Henley's profile, because this it was concerning that he did not really make that charge on Sunday. He didn't really give those guys. I mean, he was the best player in the mix for the majority of Sunday. He ends up finishing T6. If he can play out of the fairway, he's incredibly dangerous. His history here, at least recent history, suggests that he can. T13, T53, T4, you can see it here. The weeks that he loses strokes off the tee, it's going to be ugly. The weeks that he gains strokes off the tee, even if it's a little bit, it's going to be pretty darn good. I like the way that he played last week, obviously, and we're starting to see him. The West Coast swing was a very difficult place for him with the way that he drives the golf ball. I think now, if we're getting to a little bit more accuracy in some situations, this could be a better run for him. Call me sick, but how about Vic, right? Here's what I know. The ball striking is probably fine. And he is, okay, I want to be early instead of late on Victor. So I want to find the spots where his ball striking can separate him. Yes, that is here. And also where his weaknesses cannot hurt him as bad. It is all just thick rough around these greens, which should be a decent spot for him. He's gained strokes around the green in half of his starts here. He's gained strokes putting in 3 in a row. I mean, and a 0 4 years ago. So I'll give him 4 in a row. The price is very digestible at $8,300. The upside is literally a top 5 finish, right? And we start looking at if guys play their best golf, if all these guys play their best golf or their B- golf or whatever it is, you'd want Victor over probably all of these guys. Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, Robert McIntyre, Keegan Bradley, right? So there's a little bit of a pedigree here. When he goes into the hiatus and you don't see him for a couple weeks, I trust what he's doing. I trust that things are working out, and he's closer, and I want to be early. So that's where the click on Victor gets. I probably will end up betting him top 10 or something like that at 3-1 or 3.5-1. But that's the upside, and we'll know early, right? Like he's either going to be in the mix or he's not. So we shouldn't have to sweat this very long. Let me wrap up the AK range like this. The Shane Lowry T11 last week was pretty quiet. Played himself out of it on Saturday, backed into this T11 with the best round of his week on Sunday. Really love the way he's hitting it. 5.5 strokes gained on approach at PGA National. Did not gain strokes putting for the week, but 7 strokes from tee to green is very solid. He finished 3rd here last year. He has improved. I mean, his results prior to 2024 were miserable, but he plays a well-rounded style of golf last year, and then he's basically carried that into the entirety of the last 12 months. Wyndham Clark, I think, falls into the same category as Victor Hovland does. A guy who, when he's got it going, can win this golf tournament. And on, long-term 100 rounds, has a really good stat profile for Bay Hill. Strong, can move the ball, has the ability to pick up 2.5 or 3 strokes on approach, can putt it well. Hasn't put it all together, but even with these very ugly stat profiles, Phoenix, he loses 2 strokes off the tee. That's pretty bad. Finishes T16. He loses in 3 out of the 4 categories and loses a ton from tee to green at Torrey Pines and finishes T31. I know that was a smaller field, but it's a stacked field as well. So, I don't think it's as bad as I kind of have probably made it out to be. Finished runner-up here last year. Again, same bucket for Clark and Victor. Probably not getting exposure to both of them together in a lot of spots, right? That's like just chaotic, and you're either going to win the whole thing or you're going to lose all your money. So just kind of deploying them cautiously and strategically. The 7K range looks like a little bit of the passing of the guards, right? I mean, you've got guys that have historically been very good in Corey Connors, Jason Day, Matt Fitzpatrick that I think I'm less interested in this week than guys like Akshay Bhatia, Ben Griffin, Michael Kim. It's a 1-week game, right? I'm not investing in these guys for the rest of their careers or even the next month. But, we've got to really start respecting what Michael Kim has been up to. And he has always been one of the better long iron players. And look at these stat profiles. So since Phoenix, he has gained in all 4 categories, 4 starts in a row. We talk about this all the time. What is one of the biggest predictors of immediate success is a guy who gains across the board in all 4 categories. He's done it 4 times in a row. This is incredibly rare for guys not named Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele. Maybe it comes crashing down. Maybe it doesn't. I also think this is a better golf course for him than PGA National was last week. He finished T6. The results are there. Runner-up, 13th, 6th. And I guess the Genesis was a signature event. Phoenix wasn't, but that was a much better field. You also can't even look at any. So the other thing is, if you go back to last year, I think, or last week, even one of the knocks on Michael Kim was that his history at PGA National was like all missed cuts. You can't even look at that with Michael Kim. A completely different golfer. Remember that he spent years in the doldrums. He's going to have horrible course history everywhere. I look at this profile and I'm just stunned at how good it is. $7,600 for this. I mean, let's look at the last. I'm going to cherry pick for him, but last 6, 12, 18, 20. I'm bad at math. Let's do 20 rounds. Everybody in this field, minimum 16 rounds, last 20. Michael Kim's the 5th best player in this field. Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, Nick Taylor, Michael Kim. Tee to green, he's better than Nick Taylor. He's closer to Scotty Scheffler. Small sample. Very, very good sample size. Who was the other one? Oh, Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin is showing us a better ceiling than he's ever shown us before. Most of Ben Griffin's really good results in his career were, I don't want to say like backdoor 8th place finishes, but kind of backdoor 8th place finishes. He's knocking a little bit more now. The T4 in Mexico, the T4 at the Cognizant. I am still hesitant about this field being way too good for him or significantly stronger than anything where he puts these results together. But he's finished 14th here last year, losing 4 strokes on approach. He has been very good on approach. He's gained strokes in, 8 of 10. Had the really ugly start at Pebble, had the pretty bad start at Torrey Pines. Everything else is really good, especially from that approach perspective. So Kim and Griffin, just this, I'm clicking names. I'm clicking them down here. I like what I see. I'm passing up on the Jason Days, the Corey Connors of the world. It's a kind of a little bit of a bizarre feeling. 2 other opportunities that I think there are here in the 7K range. Min-Woo Lee continues to tease us here. Min-Woo has now picked up strokes on approach in 3 out of his last 4 and in 5 of his last 8. If he ever becomes a half a stroke per round approach player, he's going to be a top 10 player in the world. That's how good the skill set is. So he's teasing us. He is teasing us right now. I like what I saw at the COG where he gains across the board. His history here, very, very bad, but we're getting a little bit of growth from Min-Woo. Again, I don't want to say that he is in the same bucket as Wyndham Clark and Victor Hovland in terms of volatility. I think he's honestly a little bit safer than some of those guys, even if he lacks the upside. But we are seeing the building blocks of a top 10 player very early. He's got a lot of building left to do, a lot of logs to put together, a lot of, all that stuff. Got to do the foundation. Then you got to do the caulking. Then you have to dry. I don't know how to build a house. Drywall comes in somewhere. Concrete. I don't know. Does it have a basement? I don't know. Anyway, this is what it looks like. Okay, let's check back in 2 years on if he's a top 10 player in the world or not. But this is what it looks like. And then Aaron Rye. If we go around declaring guys back or not back, like we can officially declare Aaron Rye back, right? Mexico picks up 3 strokes off the tee, 9 on approach. I think it was the best approach week of anybody in the field. Loses 2 around the green and ends up finishing T4. I don't like the way that he kind of he coughed it up a bit on Sunday, though he still had one of his better rounds of the week. The skill set that he possesses, the ability to ball strike it, is so valuable here. I'm going to need a better putter for him. He doesn't always putt well on the surface, but he's $7,300. And it's his birthday. Oh my God, Aaron Rye turns 30 today. Happy birthday, Aaron Rye. I love when I find that. He's a 3-3 boy. He's a 3-3, 30-year-old boy. Oh, Aaron. Happy birthday, friend. The 6K range is pretty damn good, isn't it? Right? I mean, I don't always say that, but my goodness here. Okay. Well, first off, remember that, last 20 rounds, who are the best players in the world? Well, Nick Taylor was on that list, right? I think he was the 4th best player in the field. He's back. Unbelievable ball striking numbers. He's already a winner this year. T12 at the American Express, T9 at the Genesis. Just all good stuff here. He finished 12th here last year. He's played here a lot. It's mostly bad stuff, but Nick Taylor is back. This is an unbelievable price for a guy who can actually win a signature event, who can be one of the best players in the world, who can put together these tee to green numbers. Love Nick Taylor at $6,700. Harris English is the guy who, when you get a hard golf course where playing out of the fairway and par is a good score, Harris English shows up, right? We talk about this all the time. When healthy, he's very good. Last 4 trips here, no finish outside T26 with 2 top 10 finishes, including a runner-up doing it in exactly that style. He won 3 starts ago. Got smoked at Pebble, which, quite honestly, I mean, the week immediately after the win, he was horrible at Pebble Beach. Immediately bounces back at Torrey Pines again. So plays 8 rounds at Torrey Pines, picks up 14 strokes to the field. Yeah, okay. One of them was a signature event. I think I'll take that. Harris English is $6,600. I can forgive him for the T73 at Pebble. And then a couple of guys who've been on top of the leaderboard recently. Aldrich Potgieter. It was ugly in Mexico, right? Kid felt the pressure. He has a weapon at this golf course. He showed that weapon at Farmers, picked up 5.5 strokes off the tee. He picked up 5 off the tee in Mexico. I think it's going to be harder for him to lose strokes around the green here. Fingers crossed, holding thumbs, as our South African friends say. But I'm not worried about that finish at all. And I'll tell you what, this freaking Brian Campbell, I'm kind of in, right? Okay, so hat tip to you, Brian Campbell, for winning in Mexico, playing the Cognizant, and kind of playing well. Thursday and Sunday weren't very good. He is going to have to play out of the short grass, but he does that. I mean, like, obviously he's going to have to play out of the short grass. I'm like a 4 out of 10, but I just want to give a little bit of a hat tip to our friend Brian Campbell. I'm very impressed with how he put it together after that life-changing victory. Speaking of life-changing victories, Joe Highsmith. Whew, mama. Yeah. So we've talked about Highsmith a lot on this channel because of that change that he made with the putter last year, right? That kind of spurred some of these results where he had picked up 4 starts in his last 6, or 4 in a 6 week stretch in which he gained strokes with the putter. Remember, he did everything. He went right hand low, which is opposite for him because he's left-handed. He went claw grip, but then he went reverse claw grip with the right hand. It's like all 3, the holy trinity of just like bad putting desperation. And it worked for a short period of time, kind of lost it again, putted much better in Mexico. And then of course he goes nuts at the Cognizant and wins that. don't think he is going to contend again this week, but I want to point out he's been a very, very solid tee to green player the entirety of his career. His results wholly depend on how he putts. And now he's picked up 8.2 strokes putting in his last 4 starts. If you think that is going to continue, if you think he can continue that at all, $6,200 nearly min priced is criminal. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Max Homa, $6,300. Eric Cole, min priced, $6,000. Nick Dunlap, 63. Can we find anything in this range? Good news for Max. Looks good in his Lululemon stuff. Also, his history here is splendid. Nothing but top 25 finishes in 5 trips. 8th last year. Really good stat profiles. Looks like a completely different golfer right now. Ton of just, boy, yeah. I was trying, Max. I was trying to find a path here for the price, and I don't think it is possible. That's a tough one. Okay, let's try Eric Cole. Eric Cole in Florida. What is this guy up to? Min priced Eric. Oh boy, 3 missed cuts in a row. Hemorrhaging strokes, even with the putter, which is a problem. That's not going to work. Nick Dunlap cannot be $6,300. There must be some glimmer of hope for the newest member of Atlanta Drive. Yeah, I guess so. Very, very strong approach player. God, he's losing so many strokes off the tee. -2.5, -5, -6, -2.5, -4, -2, -7, -1. Yikes. Okay. See what the model has to say. See if the model can uncover some of our cheaper friends here. Okay, so let me think back to the beginning of the show. I said I wanted long hitters who could take apart par 5s and were good on approach, right? So let's do strokes gained approach, last 36 for 25. Then what I'm going to do is driving distance for 20. 20. Total driving for 10. So a little bit of both there. I got the approach numbers. I'm going to do strokes gained par 5s for 20. Let's just do it big. And then, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do course history at Bay Hill for the last 25. This is going to create some, wow. I was going to say some pretty crazy results, but it's not. Scotty Scheffler, number 1, Rory McIlroy, number 2. Yeah. Like anything I model, I'm imagining those two are going to come up first. Fleetwood at 3, JT 4, Victor 5. Look at Adam Scott, 6. That's crazy. Love that. Xander 7. His price is the 3rd most expensive golfer. He drops to 7. It's noteworthy. Ludwig 8. Cantlay 9. Keegan, total driving, is 10. Yeah, look at this. Ben Griffin is 14th. Michael Kim is 16th. And Shane Lowry's 15th. 14, 15. I mean, that's very, very good considering what their price is. Yeah, okay. I forgot to mention, like Grazerman, the last couple of weeks we've been like, I don't know if this is a good spot for his like 2 skill set. Like this is now, right now, right? So the driving, the putting, yeah, like that would be pretty good. Highsmith's 20th. Who's dead last? Jackson. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Jackson Koidman, Rafael Campos, Eric Cole. Okay. Well, interesting. Let me save this before I forget. Save 250303. What is it? API Monday. All right. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Rick Run Good YouTube channel is the live chat. You can go drop your questions, concerns, comments right now. We will get to them. Go sign up on Splash. Go sign up for rickrungood.com. Links for everything in the description that you need. My newsletter comes out later this week. We are rocking. We are rolling. Talk to you guys soon.